Sam's ready.
Thank you, Sam.
Sam, are you ready?
You will be famous because we're going to talk about you.
Okay. We're good? All right, go ahead. So, it's fine.
Am we recording? Hey, welcome to the I'm Sorry podcast with your host, Ryan Gibson. Here we'll be discussing what does it mean to be sorry? What does that mean? That's what we'll be having conversations about every week. Insert your little question there. So it's I'm sorry this and I'm sorry that. And we will be diving into each different topic every time. This week on our first inaugural podcast, we are joined happily with our good friend, Denim Richards, who is the star actor, writer, producer, director. He does it all. Currently, you can see him as Colby on the Paramount hit show,
Yellowstone?
That part. Yeah. On the Paramount hit show Yellowstone. Want to make sure that Denim was awake. All right, cool. So we're going to get into this conversation, which is funny because, first off, thank you, Denim, for being here, being a part of this. People don't know this, but about 2 years ago, Denim sat down with me one day and we just had a random conversation. And he said, you should do a podcast about some of the experiences that you've had over the course of your life. And of course, many of us, I said, nah, not interested in necessarily sharing every little part of my life with the world. But I ended up making a course correction and, he kept mentioning it. And finally, it just sort of made sense with the other conversations that were happening in and around my space. So today we're going to be having the conversation, which is, I'm sorry, I'm broken. And before we dive into it, because Denim and I are really big on words, we want to define sorry. So I know Denim said he had a definition for me.
I always think it's important anytime we're doing anything to define what the words are, because sometimes sorry to you may not be what sorry to me is.
Facts.
And so I think it makes life a lot easier if we just can agree on, this is when I'm saying I'm sorry, this is what it means to me, and then we can have a dialogue about that so we can move forward.
Yep.
So some of the things in the so I do this for everything. I
He
always pick up a dictionary and I go, this is the definition. So sorry, the first thing it says, feeling regret, sympathy or pity. Okay. The second thing is regrettable or deplorable, unfortunate, tragic. Sorrowful, grieved, or sad. Associated with sorrow, suggestive of grief or suffering. Melancholy, dismal, wretched, poor, useless, pitiful. So, and I guess you could just kind of interchange, but one of the biggest things of the sorry is the feeling regret and sympathy. And I feel like so many different aspects in life, the reason why things either happen or don't happen, whether it's friendships or relationships, usually are around the feeling of regret or sympathy, right? Or pity. No, I always feel like it's always that.
No, it's funny you said that. As soon as you said regret, feeling regret, what was the other thing? I wrote it down. Grief, suffering, wretched. It's like you don't use the wretched. Who feels wretched? It's that word. It has such a visceral reaction. But we all have these emotions, and as human beings, having this human spiritual experience here on this planet, and I think that's where we all connect. But I think people forget that when, because we all feel like we're, a word that Denim uses a lot, we're all living in these silos, individualized by our skin and our body and our little thing, and we don't think that anyone else is having the same struggle.
Right.
But the reality of it is everybody has experienced some level of pain, some level of trauma, some level of somethingness that we're working through, addressing, trying to figure out, or in some cases, in most cases, trying to suppress.
Well, and that's like, so this podcast that we're doing is like, I'm sorry, I'm broken, right? So we now understand the definition of sorry, but like, what about the definition of broken, right?
Here he goes.
So you already wrote down some of the key things for sorry. And then, okay, so for broken, obviously it's more so of like to break something, right? Reduced to fragments, fragmented, ruptured or torn, fractured, not functioning properly, out of working order, right? Changing directions abruptly, incomplete, violated, Okay. Interrupted, disrupted, disconnected, weakened in strength, in spirit. So there's so many of these different elements, right, where you can talk about I'm sorry and I'm broken and literally create an entire sentence and almost quantify somebody's entire life experience in 2 words.
Yep.
Right? Like, sorry of the brokenness. And it just has all of these elements. And I think for one of the things that we definitely want to talk about is how many of us are walking around in our brokenness. And we don't even realize that that's a mask that we put on every single day when we get out of the house.
Let's just look at what you just said. To break. What was the other one?
Fragmented.
Reduced to fragment.
Yeah.
How many of us feel
reduced?
Reduced. One, just that word. Not even the fragment part, just reduced.
Less than.
Exactly. Not, what is the other one you said? Not functioning.
Not functioning.
How many of us have walked around and felt like within our own lives, within our own story, that we feel like we're not functioning, that the world around us seems to be moving and we're not sort of existing. We're dancing above it or below it, but we're not in it.
And it's like the other part of this, like changing directions abruptly, right? So like how many times have you've been in a friendship or even more importantly a relationship, right? Where you're having these types of conversations and then all of a sudden, boom, it appears, even though it wasn't actually that, but it appears that we just changed directions.
Yeah, we went 180.
When did we get here, right? Like yesterday we were out at dinner, we're talking about our favorite rom-com, right? Eating ice cream on the thing.
In love.
And now today we're talking about how I don't think this is going to work out.
That part.
Right? And so, and I think that becomes, for me, it's a thing that we really should acknowledge more about how does one even apologize for where they are, right? So how do I say I'm sorry? What does that even mean to say I'm sorry? But then to be broken, how do you even begin to acknowledge that you're actually broken? And how oftentimes you don't realize you're broken until you've used somebody else. Yep. So I didn't even know that I was broken.
Your brokenness becomes a reflection of the reaction of the person.
I've projected my brokenness. I'm utilizing somebody else's entire life, their experience and everything as like a conduit for my brokenness, only to like discover myself
in the process
through somebody else.
Yeah, but you don't
leaving them broken.
But it's leaving them broken, but you're unconsciously going around. So I love this particular quote, hurt people hurt people.
Right.
So if you are, and so I take that and I take hurt out and put broken people break people.
Right.
Because the reality is if you're not even consciously aware of some of your broken places and what those places, those jagged edges, those cut.
Right.
And you're leaving people bloodied and cut all up through your life because many of us refuse to get into a space where we look at ourselves and ask the deeper questions.
Right.
Who am I? What do I want? Where am I going? What are the things that I'm trying to get, and how do I get there?
And what do I want from the person? If it's
another person,
if it's a relationship or a friendship, what is it that I want? And I think these are major key elements that it's part of our brain, which is like the animal side of the brain,
the lizard
which
brain.
just wants gratification right now, doesn't want to wait, doesn't want to think, doesn't want to be bothered with repercussions, doesn't want. We'll say to hell with it, and we'll figure everything else out later.
Me monsters,
and we have now created giant generations of that. And so oftentimes, like we were just talking about this before when we just left the house, right? Where we're a lot of people just roaming around completely broken, having conversations, having relationships with all of these underlining fragments and things like that we're not even addressing because we need to appear to be more put together than we actually are.
And how many of us, let's be real, everyone listening to this, you guys know, we've all walked into a room many times and we can feel our insecurity, and you feel it like it's literally the jacket you're wearing, and you do everything in your power to pretend and cover it up. Put that mask on. And you put the mask on, but when you're in a relationship, and when I say relationship, my definition is any interaction you have with another person is and can be defined as a relationship. If extended interactions, deeper relationships, so the friendships, the mateships, things like that. But we're talking about any interaction you're having. If you're coming and you're leading from a place of disingenuousness because you have your mask on, how do you expect the other person to meet you in any place other than disingenuousness?
Yeah, you're grounding them. So essentially, like in business, we call it grounding, right? So if you're going to do something, the first time that you introduce yourself to somebody, the first time that you talk about a topic of conversation, you're grounding their level of expectation. So if you show up to a job interview looking like you didn't put any effort in,
None.
You're grounding whoever's hiring you with the expectation of, hey, I actually don't really give a damn about whatever this is. And you can take me or not take me. So we do that often. So part of that wearing this mask is I have, so my acting coach, Margie Haber, has this book, and she always talks about the 5 masks, right?
Let's plug the book. Go ahead and plug it. Go ahead and plug it. Go ahead and do it.
She's going to be so upset if she listens. She's like, Denim, you don't even remember the name of the book.
Oh, you don't remember the name?
Sorry, I don't give an F. It's like, sorry, I don't give an F. I think it's that.
Okay.
It's not sorry. It's I'll get it before the end. Margie, I love you. It's great. It's just great. I'm not going to send you the podcast.
We're going to plug it. We're going to plug it.
But she talks about these 5 masks, right? About like having this fearful child,
Yeah.
right? And all these. So a lot of us don't realize that we have this fearful child. Like you spoke about when you walk into a room, how you just feel all of your insecurities coming up. That's your fearful child.
Your 10-year-old self pops up so fast.
And so the question that you don't do is you don't go deeper than that.
Yep.
You don't sit there and you don't go, what was created? What happened?
What triggered this?
In this environment?
This?
And how do I then go and begin to heal that? Otherwise,
Yeah.
you then now have unrealistic expectations where now if you meet somebody, it becomes their job to fix you.
That part.
So they can't even live their experience, their whole job.
Or deal with their own brokenness.
Because
they're too busy trying to make you
They're
make
fixer.
you to fix you. And
and that's your job interview.
I don't know if you've ever done this in relationships. I was, for lack of a better phrase, Captain Save a Hoe. So I was the guy who, when I met somebody, it was like I wanted to make sure they were okay. Want to make sure you're good. Make sure everything about you is good.
Right.
So I was always Captain Fix 'em.
Right.
Pull out the tool belt and start putting them together.
Right.
And making sure they're fine.
Right.
But I realized years later that what I was really doing was trying to address my own internal brokenness,
projecting
externally onto her, and seeing if I can if she's good,
right,
then by reflection,
I'm good. And now what I've done is I've anchored them in something that's unrealistic for them
to maintain.
So what we've done is like we've created roles.
Yep.
Right, so like a TV series,
you can stay broken, and I have to continue, and I have to come in.
But I need you. But sometimes I need you. And sometimes in relationships, what we don't talk about is like you actually need them to be broken.
Yes.
So it validates
my job.
Otherwise, what value do I have?
If you get fixed,
I don't have any value.
I don't have anything to do. And the relationship falls apart.
And so this is what happens. Yeah. Like it's so funny because I mean I've had a couple relationships,
a few,
and so one of the things I used to realize all the time was I was a giant. What would you say? What are the things like that light that moths come to? That light.
Oh, you were
the fluorescent.
Which one? The one that kills them?
The one that attracts
them.
So it attracted a lot of people that were always going through something. Right. So it was never like I never really met people for a period of time. I never met a female for a solid maybe 10 years that wasn't going through something. Yikes. And I don't mean like everybody goes through something, but I mean like some type of super traumatic experience.
My finances are bad.
Was just happening, and I just happened to meet them during that time. And so instead of me sitting there and going, okay, what is it about myself that is projecting and reflecting a light or an energy
there it is
to bring in this? Instead, I say maybe that's what my calling is. Then you lean fully into that.
Hold on, you gotta say that again. I hope people heard that. You are attracting to yourself all of these people with issues, big issues, fixers, if you will, fixer-uppers. And then your thought to yourself is, That must be my job.
This is my lot in life.
Yep.
But then, like I said, if you go deeper than that, it's because I'm broken.
That part.
Right? And so really, misery loves company.
Yes, it does.
So we need to sit around with each other and we need to cut each other open and just bleed all over the place. Right? But then what happens when there's no more blood?
That part.
Then you say, well, now I got to go get somebody else. But then also that means nobody can afford to be healed.
Yep.
So now we sit there and we go, why didn't this relationship work? Why didn't that? Because you're growing. Oftentimes in a relationship, somebody starts to grow.
Yeah.
And that becomes really dangerous for people.
Because you don't know how to deal with someone else's growth. Because especially if you're in stagnation. So if you're sitting there and you're sitting under, you guys are both meat, you're both little seeds, and then 2 years later, she's sprouted and you're still a seed. At some point, she's going to look over and realize you're still a seed.
I can't be, and this is that conversation. So this was part of the environment, right? The environment that you create. So if you're broken, so if you then tell yourself, I'm broken. If you tell yourself I'm poor,
claim it.
Then what you're saying, because the words have power, you create your own thing.
Power.
So what you're saying is that is true.
And you create your own universe by the words you speak.
And that becomes your reality. And so there was a story. This happened where there was a lady, I told you the story already about the lady that had like a pet snake and she took the snake to the pet store because she bought the snake and the snake was supposed to be growing.
Yeah.
Like there's supposed to be this monster snake.
Yeah, a python.
So he takes it, so it's supposed to be taking it. So she takes it to the veterinarian and she goes, look, I'm feeding it the mice, I'm feeding it the crickets, it's under the heat lamp. It's all of these things. Why isn't this thing, like, what's happening? So they're, picking it up and trying to do it, and it sounds good. It looks good. It feels. And so it's like, well, we don't understand what's going on. And finally, the vet says, well, what kind of cage do you have it in? And she was like, well, what does that matter? And it's like, well, just what? And it's like, well, it's in this little kind of thing. And it's like, well, that's why. Because snakes will grow to the size of their environment. And so when you're realizing that if you decide that I'm broken, you will subconsciously begin to surround yourself with other broken people, with other broken situations. So it becomes this thing of what does that mean? And when you say that you're sorry, are you sorry because you're wanting to acknowledge it? Or are you sorry because you want empathy? Or are you sorry because you want pity?
Well, for us, because those are great questions that you guys should all be asking yourself. The reality, though, for us as we're sitting here and for me for having this conversation is, I want people to recognize, like I have, that it's okay to be broken. It's okay to recognize, to look at yourself and go, oh, I'm so sorry that I'm broken. And I have work to do. And
that's not your final destination, right? Because that's not, it's the start of the acknowledgement to healing.
As soon as you find that out, you're in a new beginning. And it's not, and like I go back to the definitions and you have not enough, out of order. What is this other word? Violated. I mean, these terms are harsh and heavy. And sometimes because we don't take the time to understand and look up what words mean and what we're really saying, we're taking on all this energy that we don't even realize we're doing. So I know I've been divorced about going on 3 years now. And one of the things that sort of not led to it, but there was a moment where my ex-wife said to me that I was broken. And when she did at the time, it felt like an attack. Because I had been struggling with feelings of being broken and had not yet addressed those feelings. So to have somebody else point it out to you in a way that did not feel loving, kind, respectful was hurtful, harmful to our relationship, to our marriage.
Did you know before she said that, did you know though that it was brokenness? Like, was that was it just capital, somewhere in the room?
Yeah.
You knew like, hey, we need new things, but you didn't know what we needed.
No, I knew it in the sense of I had long since walked around with this feeling that the same insecurity that we all carry in different varying degrees.
Not being enough.
Not being worthy, not being good enough, right enough, smart enough, whatever enough, right? And then you get into a relationship that you think someone else, and I did. And look, my ex-wife, I had problems. She had problems. Look, nobody was perfect. But we have 3 beautiful kids together, and we work together as parents to make sure that happens. So this is no dig on her. This is just the reality of the situation from my perspective. Is that during the time that we were together, towards the times when it got rough, it was my looking inward and checking on myself and getting to a place where I capital KNOW or actually KNEW, when I knew that I had things to work on. When before, I sort of knew. It was small K. I didn't really start doing the work until later, when I really started to ask myself the deeper questions. What is it that I really want? Who do I want to be? Not just for myself,
So
but
let
for
me
my
ask you a
kids.
question with that. Like, is there a danger or a major struggle that comes with, I'm now going to go and have deep introspection
Yes.
in the middle of a relationship,
Yes.
let alone a marriage
100%.
with kids, where
100%.
now I'm essentially going to take the moment to look inside and ask myself questions that some people could argue are probably questions that I should have been asking before
Facts.
we did all that, right? So
100%.
then what does that look like, right?
The reality is most people go into any relationship not asking these questions. I mean, I've asked people simple questions like, when are you going to have kids?
Right.
And they look at you like, and I'm like, if y'all don't talk about it, you're going to mess around and get pregnant.
Right.
And then you're going to be mad because you're not ready.
Or somebody's going to be, oh, we're not having it because I'm okay with it at any time. The other person's like, we're not talking about it because we both don't want it. And it's like, if you're not having
the
and
clear
this is part of that
conversation.
animalistic side of the brain, and also because we don't want things not to work.
Yes.
Right? Because at our core, and this is part of an insecurity that we don't really talk about, everybody's desire to be liked all the time.
Ah, yes.
So when you want to be liked all the time, right?
Yeah.
You're never going to be honest.
Nope.
It's impossible.
Nope.
And a lot of people go into relationships
wanting to be liked and loved
all the time.
And prepared to acquiesce, prepared to push you. I think the thing that, and it's not my ex-wife's fault, I went into it wanting long-term stability, love, all that good stuff, kids, the whole thing, the whole fairy tale, right? And then you get in there and you realize, but I'm broken. There are things that I need to address in me for me. But I was trying to address things in me for her. And in doing so, I wasn't addressing it.
Right.
Because I'm still trying to not fix me for me.
Right.
I'm trying to twist me for you.
Is any part of that also because we want to be told like we're good, sweet, and smart?
Yes,
right.
100%.
And so if I just do more,
if I do more
for you,
if I
then
give everything,
then you'll turn around and you'll tell me. And this is the thing that for men, that oftentimes I think is very. What that I think is very interesting is our level of simplicity at times.
Oh, we're easy.
Right? Where
men are stupid.
We don't want to, where we just, I think it's our level of,
our want is very small.
well, so it's the thing. It's
don't
not,
you agree?
It's our level. The reason why it's simplistic is because by nature we're like hunters and gatherers, right? So we don't oftentimes get into all the semantics of things. Everything is very open and shut.
Yep.
If you go out and hunt, you either brought back the kill or you didn't bring back the kill.
And we hungry tonight.
Nobody didn't have time to hear about how when I was out there, the elements and the this and it was raining.
The mammoth came from me.
We're not eating, right? And so very, very straightforward. So there's a lot of those things that make us very, very simplistic. Simple, but simple I wouldn't say makes us stupid. It makes us easy.
Yeah.
The problem with that, when you become easy, is that it becomes also easily manipulative.
Yeah.
Right? Because now what happens is you'll sit there and you'll go, well, because I don't want a lot, that means I have more to give.
That part.
Because I don't really need a lot.
Yep.
And then the lengths that one is maybe willing to go through
to give
just to hear, hey, you're good. Hey, you're valued. Hey, you're this. That may have required you may have had to go out and buy a whole house, got a whole mortgage, got a whole car,
were you in my
had
marriage?
all these other kids, just so that on the day, hopefully they turn around and say, hey, I appreciate you. And then you're like, dang, this was a super expensive conference.
For just appreciation for the word.
You know, that costs.
But even, I mean, for me, I think the understanding that, like you had asked earlier, the I'm sorry of it all, being able to sit in a space. And I learned early on that when I apologize for anything, I'm never apologizing for the sake of the other person. I'm apologizing because I recognize my own wrongdoing. It's so much more internal. I recognize I made a mistake. I erred in my actions. I erred in my words. I erred in some way. And I want to make amends. And I go into this because most people don't know there are three parts to an apology. And I only learned this in the last 10 years. The first part is the I'm sorry. Everybody does it. That's the one that we almost all do. You step on somebody's feet. I'm sorry I stepped on your shoe. Then the next one is, what are you sorry for? Most people will sometimes recognize what they're sorry for. I'm sorry I stepped on your shoe. The third one is the one that most people never do. And we, as the person who the injured party, never requires, and you should. And the last one is, what are you going to do to ensure that this doesn't happen again? So if I stepped on your shoe and I wasn't paying attention because I was on my phone, then my response would be simple. I'm so sorry. Oh God, I'm so sorry I stepped on your shoe. I will make sure I pay better attention and not be walking around here on my phone and not looking at where I'm going. But most of us.
Let's go deeper,
Yeah,
right?
go.
Is it possible that comes from what childhood is, right? Because I look back, as you're telling me this story, I'm looking at it from the landscape or the lens of how many times have you you have children, they've done this, or you did this as a child, where maybe they're playing, they hurt somebody's crying, and then you just come up and tell them that they're sorry.
Yes.
You
100%.
You're not taking the time with the kid and saying
to go through the journey.
These are the three elements of the sorry.
I have 3 kids. I do it with them.
So
I
now
make sure that I always ask my kids, when they want, I'm sorry, Dad. What are you sorry for?
Right.
And then they have to tell me. And then I said, and now what are you going to do to ensure this doesn't happen again?
Right.
What steps are you going to take? Because you're the person who caused the injury.
Because there has to be some accountability. But you can now see that there's a lot of people, because I've been like that, where I'm just like, I'll just say sorry if that's what you need me to do, so that we can do sorry for everything. Sorry for living, sorry for existing.
Sorry that I was breathing.
Sorry for everything, right? But that was also, there's a lot of that just because that's what happened in school. You just say, hey, dude, such and such is crying, say you're sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, they say you're sorry. Are you okay? I'm okay. But they don't realize
that you're setting them up.
You're
breeding me monsters.
A lack of accountability, a broken monster that now it'll be for everything. Then it will become for marriage, it'll come for business, it'll come for relationships, it'll come for kids.
Everything.
This is what you're doing. And so this is part of why podcasts like this for me are very important, because for me, the biggest goal of something like this is about the deeper meanings behind things.
Yes.
Right? So when we are saying that we're sorry, are we really sorry? Or are we just saying that because that's what we feel like we want to do, because we want to pacify, because we don't want to sit in our own uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
We don't want to sit in our own brokenness.
Yep.
I don't want to sit in front of the mirror and sit there and go, damn, I don't want to look at these scars and realize that some of these scars, not all of them, but some of these
are
scars
self-inflicted. That you did this to yourself.
That it wasn't because somebody else
did something to you.
Sometimes you did.
You did this.
You're your worst enemy.
Yes.
Sometimes.
And even in the times where someone did it to you, where were you standing?
Right. Did you put yourself
in that position? There you go. And if you're standing in, like I always tell people that I have long since let go of the belief that I will ever be in the middle of any argument. I said 2 things. I don't get into arguments anymore because I've decided that the smarter move is to simply just listen. Even though sometimes it's hard. I'm not telling you I'm perfect at it all the time. But I'm not debating anybody, because an argument is about one thing: who's right and who's wrong.
Right.
I don't need to be right for you to be wrong.
Right.
I don't need that. If you want to argue and tell me that you're right, well, at some points I get to a place where I just go, well, then be right. Enjoy it.
And also realizing that you saying, like me saying I'm sorry, or you saying that you're sorry, doesn't
make
mean
you
that
wrong,
I'm right.
or makes you wrong, or makes you
right. Like, so if I can apologize to you, but that's the ego.
Yes.
And so this becomes maybe the next episode is I'm sorry I have such a big ego, right? Like, but
yeah, Beyonce would love that.
But you know what I mean, because you realize that so much of it is your need, that the need to be validated.
Yes.
Right. And so, and then sitting there and simply saying, I'm sorry, somehow, instead of you being able to be introspective of what that sorry means, going through those 3 different things, it's somehow now I'm not going to say sorry because I need you to be wrong.
Yes.
And I need to be right.
And that becomes the fight. And that becomes the battle, and that becomes the journey. And then you're missing the point because you don't even know what you were discussing anymore.
Right.
It's about, am I right or are you wrong? Because the reality is that anytime someone speaks about rightness.
And so the question then becomes like now, because I was like this my whole life, right? Like I remember I'll be in arguments for 7-8 hours and want to go through everything. And I would find the time, right? Can ask some people around me, they'll sit there and go, yes, occasionally he still goes back to that, right?
This is true. Very true.
But the reality of it becomes, what is it now, the bigger question as you get older and mature more, what is it that you're hoping to accomplish from somebody saying you're right?
That part.
Or you're wrong. And then what?
And then what?
So if I now agree, hey, I was wrong and you're right, Now what? Now what happens?
Yeah.
Now where do we go?
I tend to lean more now into, and it's still a work in progress, into, do I understand you? Do I understand your position? And oftentimes what I even realize now is when I say to someone, I understand where you're coming from, they still want to keep telling it to me. And I'll look at them and go, I heard you. I understood where you, but I realize what's happening isn't about me understanding. It's about me agreeing, because people think that understanding and agreement are the same thing.
Right. And
they are not.
And they're not. Again, definitions,
yes.
right? Like what are these words? And again, back to childhood.
Get your dictionaries, people. We're going to be taking you down that road.
You should, right? Download the app, right? But this is why it's so important, because again, that's part of childhood trauma, right? It's part of, sometimes those same individuals that do that is because they grew up in a household where they felt like they didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
Right. And so now, because that was never addressed, now we're just grown up.
Now you're an adult person who still feels like, and
dealing with bigger situations.
Because when you hear, because there's a word that people have been created and used in zeitgeist now that triggers me, and the word is trigger. Because everybody's walking around saying, "Oh, I was triggered. I was triggered. I was triggered." You don't know what the heck you're talking about. Because a real trigger is when something happens that you don't even realize. You don't even have the conscious reaction to the fact that all of a sudden you've clenched your hands. All of a sudden you're breathing faster. All of a sudden your eyes have dilated. All of a sudden you're sweating. All of a sudden you're anxious, you're upset, you're frustrated. These things happen uncontrollably, as opposed to anytime somebody says to me, "Oh, I was triggered by that." I said, "You clearly weren't."
There's no way.
Because you're telling me.
You're able to easily articulate.
If you can articulate it, it didn't happen.
And it's easier to sit there and go through individually by yourself what your triggers might be.
That part.
But you're never in a situation where you're like, "Oh, I'm about to act out of impulse.
I'm about to be
and then you act out of impulse."
I'm about to act out.
But that's nobody.
I'm about to get into this accident.
Nobody does that, right? Nobody says like I'm impulse. So, and this is part of the lack of accountability, right?
Which all comes from a broken place.
All of it's a broken place.
It all stems from a broken place.
And that's, to me, is if you are sorry about quote unquote being broken, saying that you're sorry for being broken, number one, doesn't mean that you being broken is bad.
Right.
It's actually great, because now you have acknowledgement, and that's the place that we can work from.
It need not be a negative connotation. It need not be this space where all of a sudden you say I'm broken, and all of a sudden everybody should rally around you and give you hugs. Right. The reality of it is, it's the starting point to your journey of healing.
Right.
And this is part of what we're going to be getting into on here, is this journey of finding these places where you can find healing in these things that you probably don't even realize that you should be addressing.
And potentially being able to do it and not relying on other people for that healing.
Yes.
Because
that's not real healing.
Sometimes we just end up trading one addiction for the other. Right.
Yes.
And so then it becomes, well, I just want to use this person for something negative, and now I'm going to heal, and now I want to use this very same person for my healing, and that's positive.
Yep.
No. It's still the same thing. You're still taking
therapy, people.
Right.
Everybody should be going to therapy. Everybody. I can't scream that from the mountaintops enough. Therapy is the place. Do not go to your mother, your sister, in some cases your pastor, depending on the relationships in the universe, to be able to find the healing within you, because you have to be ready to sit there to go deep. And most of us want to go shallow. We want to walk into a room and say, "Yeah, I'm having a bad day," but not really talk about what's really been going on. That this wasn't day one of bad
What
day.
are these?
This is day 17.
What are the compounding situations that have now led to
the bad day?
And this is why a lot of people have so many diseases. That's it's not a disease. It's called disease of the body, and it comes from when you get stressed. It's because of lack of oxygen in the blood.
Yep.
So when you have lack of oxygen, this is when disease lives, right? So a lot of people are walking around in disease because of
disease and dis-ease.
Right, because of stress, because of all of this brokenness and this, that, and the third. And that doesn't mean that everybody has the same level of brokenness, right? But everybody has some element that they're still looking at.
On that real quick, just remember, guys, this is not the brokenness Olympics. No one's getting a gold medal for who has the best broken space.
This is not, I have longer scars. I have longer scars. And that becomes part of the whole thing in general, right?
And the victim mentality.
Why
that
do
can
we
come out of
always
it.
need to sit there and say, oh, well, this happened to me? But that's what children do, right?
Yes.
Children will sit there and be like, oh, I have 5 toys. Oh, at my house, I have 7
6.
toys. Oh, well, really? Because I got the 8th toy, but then I gave the other toy. So it always, and
Look at
so
me, I'm
many of us,
better.
we do that, and we do that right now, right?
Look at my car. I got a new car.
Oh,
Good for you.
And then it's like, oh yeah, I was gonna get one, but I decided not to. Or oh, I got a flat tire. Oh, I got 2 last week. Can't you just allow somebody to just stand on their own?
Yeah.
And let them be
Let
in whatever
it be
that
real.
is, instead of having to compete with them for whatever the broken situation is.
I've let go of all of that mess, and I got to tell you guys, I let go of that thanks to 7+ years of hard work in therapy, and I still have to go back. You know, I know that it's like tending to your cars. We use this car analogy. You don't just sort of take your car in for maintenance. You take your car in for maintenance, and we are a machine, and we require maintenance. I promise you. Everybody has been down this road of life and has hit some bumps. We all have some issues that we have to address, some concerns that we need to look at. And being able to sit with those concerns and look at them and really start to do the work. And that even that phrase has been overused. Everybody's walking around telling me how they're doing their work. And I find myself shaking my head. What work are you doing? What are you really doing?
Well, and here's something that's interesting. So you've done therapy for 7 years.
Plus.
I've never,
plus years.
right. I've never done therapy.
You should go.
Right. But see, here are my reasons why I won't go to therapy.
Really? Okay,
or why I'm not big on therapy.
Okay, let's get the other side.
Not because I don't believe that it has value. I undoubtedly believe that it has value for certain people. I look at it because of what my personality is, that my personality is very much about, I need to be able to not speak about things in silos. I need to be able to speak about them outward.
Right.
So many things that have happened one-on-one in a room.
That's true.
Right. With nobody else.
Yeah.
Right. And that breeds this false sense of security and safety that I don't know how to deal with.
Right. Because then when you leave the room, you're not sure what you're.
What do I do? What do I do? Right.
Well, the right therapist will help you.
I'm certain
in a real world.
And I'm certain that those
Yeah.
exist. But I also am very big on, it doesn't bother me to talk about the things that I've either gone through, the things that I'm working on, the things that I want to address. And I don't believe that there's anybody else that can tell me how I need to address the things that I need to address better than myself. But you have to be willing to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Again, so that requires a certain level of attention to yourself,
Yeah.
a certain level of introspection,
Yeah. Self-awareness.
a certain level of self-awareness, and the ability to be able to go back and tell people like, hey, dude, I've hurt you.
Yeah.
I've done these things. And
Yeah.
there's things that I have done that I wasn't intentionally doing because I was in a young state of mind,
Yeah.
right? And I didn't realize that these things are. And I believe that that's what a lot of therapists are really great at doing.
Yes, the
How
good ones.
How can I
Yeah.
help you get to
help
a space
you to look at you.
to get to a space?
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
I think as an artist, a lot of my therapy becomes like this. Like doing a podcast is therapeutic for me,
And
right?
me.
because for me, it's understanding. It's how do I take a situation that most people would deem could be negative or scary and turn it to being something that could possibly be helpful for other people.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of looking at it from being a victim, from a victim standpoint of here are all the bad things that have happened to me.
Yeah.
I get to look at it from here are all the things that have happened to me. Now I'm going to turn around and be like, I'm one of the fortunate ones that didn't end my life.
Yes.
That didn't quit.
Yes.
That didn't stop.
Yes.
And there's somebody out there that needs that story.
To hear that.
So there's
Yeah.
somebody, I tweeted this the other day, that don't quit. There's somebody out there that you don't know that needs your story.
Facts.
And so that for me is what ultimately all this becomes, right? All of this becomes an opportunity for me to sit there and go, we need to have more openness in the way that we have conversations.
Especially men.
Right. And this is what...
Because men tend to be taught not to talk about their pain, their struggles, their issues. That's the way that we're socialized across probably cultural lines, across county lines, country lines. It doesn't matter. There is a need, a necessary need to be able to have your young boys I can't tell you the last time I saw my kid cry, I would never say to him, don't cry, be a man up. I would never say those words because I know what that breeds. That breeds more of the same BS that ends up creating these monster macho men who don't know how to feel or don't know how to allow themselves to feel because that for them is negative.
Yeah.
That's less than, that's smaller.
And without explaining to them, like, why are you crying?
Yeah, ask
right?
the question.
It's not, and this is
you can cry. Crying is okay.
Nobody's saying don't cry.
Don't cry.
But we also want to know why we're doing something, because this is the way for ourselves to begin more in tuned.
Yeah.
Because it's like somebody sitting there going, I just woke up and I had a bad day. Well, why are you having a bad day today? I don't know. I just woke up like that.
Yeah.
That's a lazy way
of looking at your life.
Not having to do anything.
Yeah.
That's the type of person that I would sit there and go, you probably want to do a little bit of some deeper work here.
You about to ask some harder questions.
Because you're not asking yourself these harder and more meaningful questions. And so if there's anything that anybody gets from this type of podcast, for anything, it's about you being able to look at yourself introspectively, or stand in front of a mirror and ask yourself some of these tough things, and maybe even write down on a piece of paper.
Journaling is
what
great.
is my experience of me, and then what is everybody else's experience of me, and then draw lines like you would do in school, like the match the balloon character to the actual word, the balloon, and see if that works. And that's part of the deeper meaning. So being broken and admitting the fact of, hey, I've been in a broken state is your first opportunity for healing. And that sorry is your first opportunity to be held accountable.
And you want to be in that space. And this is what we're going to be doing in every episode of the I'm Sorry podcast. We're going to be addressing all these very different and hopefully constructive and helpful conversations. And the conversations may be with me and another person. It may be just me and you guys, but I want to be able to just sit down here and really talk about these things and hope that they have some meaningful impact on your lives. And when we get everything all get going, we want y'all to tweet out and, the whole social media mishigas, and come through and connect and let us know what works. What are you hearing? What are you feeling? What are you taking away? What's working for you? What doesn't work for you? What conversations would you like us to have? Because the reality is, every single person has been down the roads that I'm planning to walk down. And I want you guys to all feel safe and strong and confident and secure in the space that you are not alone. That if you're sitting and feeling broken, it's not just you. There are thousands, millions, thousands upon millions of people on this planet having the same experience.
And there's so many different ways to heal from feeling like you're in a broken state, right? So there's not a one size fits all.
Very much so.
Some people will say, I want to go to therapy. Some people will say, I just want to go play sports. Some people, there's so many different things.
As long as you're addressing it.
As long as something's getting addressed, and that you have tangible,
steps
things
forward
that you're seeing, right? And I mean, one of the last things, I know we're going to wrap up, but one of the last things is about also paying attention to who's in your environment, right? And are they aiding in your brokenness, or are they helping you heal from that, right? And I think one of the biggest issues is we want to be fixed, without fixing our circumstances, right? So we want all the money without having to go to do the job. And this is part of that deeper thing. Everybody says that they want to be better, but do you want to do the work that it requires
to be better,
to get better, and to be better? And that's, for me, is one of the larger things of understand what your words are and be willing to do whatever it is that you're claiming that you say you want to do.
So for those of you out there that are sitting there and they're saying, much like I just said, I'm sorry, I'm broken, and recognizing that's the start of your journey, I wish you well. Go down that road. Do not be afraid. Make sure that you're doing some of the things that we're suggesting here, which is making sure that you're looking at yourself, you're taking accountability, you're taking ownership, and you're prepared to do the work, because this is work, real work. I'm not talking about that faux work that some people do. I'm talking about, and this is lifetime work. This does not stop. I've been in therapy for over 10 years, and it does not stop. You have to keep doing it. It only works, somebody says jokingly, it only works when you work it. This is what this is. You have to be prepared to work it. So we'll see you guys next time, and we'll get into our next podcast conversation, and we'll see what our next topic is on the next I'm Sorry podcast. We thank you guys for listening. We look forward to you listening again. Thanks, Denim, again, for stopping by. Denim Richards, everybody, the star of Paramount's hit show, #1 show in the world, Yellowstone. So make sure you check it out, and I'll make sure I put up the name of that book, the acting book that his acting coach has. We'll put it up on our website so you guys can see it. Shout out to Margie Haber. And we appreciate you guys for listening in. More to come. See you soon. Good. And we're out.